appreciate it, the opportunity to chat with you, Adam. How long have you been in the car business, would you say, roughly?
Donny, thank you very much for having me. Really pumped up. Love talking about Toyota trucks. I know you're a gearhead, motorhead. I've been in and around the car business my whole life.
Right on.
My grandfather actually opened a Toyota store in 1973.
Very cool.
I'm a third generation Toyota dealer. A lot of passion about the product.
Yep.
Excellent pedigree. But yeah, I'm a dealership rat. I've been running around my whole life.
Nice. So I would like to hop right into it. You know why I invited you on here? I want to chat about the '08 single cab you're rebuilding, that Tundra. So why did you choose that specific truck? I think you said you sold it originally.
Well, so let's just establish a few things. As a boy, you always love full-size trucks. And the domestics always had a lot of cool full-size trucks. And Toyota always had the old Toyota T100s and the old body-style Tundra and the classics.
Nice.
But they never had a true full-size truck.
Okay.
So late 90, they come out with the 4.6
right.
Tundra. Was small.
Still a V8. I mean,
it was the 4.7.
4.7. Yeah.
It was the 4.7.
Yeah.
And then the new truck didn't come out again until 2007, new body style.
Okay.
They had some different versions that came out early 2000, but they were still the smaller V8.
Mm-hmm.
And when 07 came out, I mean, the factory was built in San Antonio, and it was a real big deal. I mean, they went in with both feet. They had just been producing the old Tundra just in Indiana.
Yep.
Weren't doing a lot of volume. And then all of a sudden we have a whole factory in San Antonio totally dedicated to this. Then you get Indiana. Now we have different configurations. So you get into, first time we have a complete full-size truck. A lot of the components of powertrain, everything was overbuilt, in a lot of ways. That truck had more capacities than some 3/4 tons.
So it feels kind of like it's like the first real full-size Tundra in your mind.
It's the first American domesticated Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, right on.
And
I like that.
So they have, and then they introduced this 5.7 liter V8, 381 horse. I mean, this thing is just fun to drive.
Right on.
It's geared right, and you feel like you're driving a sports car. And anyway, so they come out with this truck, and they come out with 3 bed configurations or cab configurations. So you could get a regular cab,
right? Single,
and then a single. And then you get a double cab, and then you get a crew cab.
Yep.
With the regular cab, keep in mind this truck had 381 horse. You could get with the shifter on the floor and the big center console, 2-seater, and the thing was this hot. Off-road package was a model code 8324, and we're in truck capital of New England,
right.
the Northeast, and
right.
We only got 3 of these things ever. Right, so
gnarly.
We got 3 8324s. One we sold to a guy down south. One we swapped to another store. I remember I was going to lunch one day. They swapped this truck. Beside myself. And then this one we sold, and we actually sold to a acquaintance of mine, and a friend of ours. He traded it back in, and I don't know why, but we sold the truck again.
Yep,
it was clean. They used it just to pull a horse trailer that they never really, went anywhere with. Yeah. And then we sold it, and years later, I don't know, about 10 months ago, I think I sold the truck originally in 08. I turn around, and a buddy of mine, guy's actually from Moldova, he's a wholesaler, he's a good guy, pulls in the parking lot, and I'm like, no, that's no way.
Recognize it.
So at this point, I want to start calling the truck the Boomerang. Because, every time I sell this thing, it ends up back in my driveway. So we start looking at it, and I'm like, wow, that's a nice truck. And so, hey, we thought about it, and we kind of went about it backwards. We replaced a lot of, odds and ends.
Yeah.
Swapped a lot of parts out, and then we looked at this thing under the lift, and the frame was scaling a bit.
Yeah.
It was solid.
Yeah.
And Dan, the master tech buddy of mine who's rebuilding this thing, is like, let's get this frame cleaned up. So we're getting the frame powder coated right now.
Right on.
Powder coat's cool because it's one-step process.
Yep. Yep. It's not a lot. There's no curing time, realistically. I mean, compared to normal paint, and it's more. It's more
cool.
Durable.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's unique looking. It's a one-step process.
Yeah.
Now the cool thing about the truck, so it's a regular cab with a 5.7. There wasn't a lot of regular cab 5.7s, and it was an off-road, so it had the shifter on the floor. Maybe it was, I don't know, one of a handful, maybe 1% of the build for that year.
Yeah.
They ended up discontinuing that regular cab in 2010.
So it had the big motor and the minimum cab size, so the power rate ratio is probably going to be pretty impressive. Probably, I bet it's a fun truck to drive. And they stopped making them. What year you said that was?
The 8324.
Yeah,
the last year they made them was 2010.
Okay, so they only made them a couple 3 years then.
Yeah. Nice. So the truck, it was a hot truck. It's a unique truck.
Right. Right on.
What else you want to know about the truck, Donny?
What's your long-term goal? Are you want to keep it? It sounds like you want to keep it for a long time.
Well, we're a Toyota dealership, and I think it'll be a truck that stays with the store. Mm-hmm. And it's a unique truck, unique build. I think we'll put it in the showroom. And,
heck yeah.
And throw it to some trade, bring it to some trade shows. And, it's going to have, it's going to be a real sleeper. It's going to look all OEM.
Yep.
It's going to have, little extra stuff under the hood.
We talked a little bit last week or a couple weeks ago. You were mentioning maybe a supercharger. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're putting a supercharger in. It's going to have 504 horse and 500 foot-pounds of torque. But the truck's going to be all OEM. I mean, the interior is going to be the same. It's going to have the same aluminum wheel.
Okay.
A BF Goodrich OEM.
That's what
close to as match as it had.
Right on.
We redid a lot of the interior panels, but everything was done OEM.
Very cool.
The only thing non-OEM on the truck is it's going to have a satin finish frame.
Nice.
It's powder coated, but it makes the truck,
That looks sharp.
But every part on the truck's been changed.
Sweet. Yeah, I was wondering, that was one of the things I wanted to ask you was your tire and wheel configuration, what you were thinking, if you were going to go close to stock and keep it, a subtle sleeper kind of look?
No, we're gonna go with the OEM.
Yeah.
The sleeper mode.
Yeah.
Looks neat. It's cool.
I like that. I like that a lot. Do you think you'd ever pass it down to your boy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll stay with the dealership, and hey, hopefully he works at the store maybe when he's older, him or one of his cousins or something. But no, I think whoever has that store in town, hopefully it'll be in the showroom.
Right on. I like that. Very cool. We talked about the body configuration. I was going to see if you were going to do any suspension, like up, lower it.
All OEM.
Yeah.
All OEM. It's going to have the BF Goodrich Bilstein suspension it came with. Actually, brand new covers.
I like
all
that.
OEM.
Nice.
Yeah, fresh truck.
Very cool. Have you chatted with your dad about it at all?
No, I've talked quite a bit about it with Dan,
the master
Orisco, a buddy of mine who's rebuilding this thing, and Dan did a bunch of supercharger OEM stuff over the years.
Nice.
And he's been around the truck since it came out, and we were just talking about how dependable this 5.7 has been, and it had some folks used to give it a hard time on the cost of fuel. I'd still say it has the lowest cost of ownership at any truck in its segment year and time because they have crazy residual values. I mean, the motors are, very dependable.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most dependable V8 motor ever made. So, hey, nice piece of machinery.
Right on. I like that. And you said the transmission, it's on the shifter's on the floor. Is that like the 4x4 to 4x2 for high? Or is it a manual or automatic?
The four-wheel drive's on the fly, but it's a trigger in front of you.
Yep.
The shifter on the floor is park drive.
Okay.
There's like no shifter on the column.
It's not on the column, got you.
It's right on the ground. It's just a two-seater.
Like they still make, in later 2000s, they still had those in some of the Tundras. I was just trying to envision what you were talking about there.
Yeah.
Okay.
What made it unique was it was a regular cab.
Okay.
And you'll see when you sit in it.
Yeah.
But it's, there's not a lot of trucks around like that. It's a unique build.
Yeah. Reminds me. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead, Donny.
It reminds me. So I fell in love with this truck in college. It was a Chevy, but it was a step-side Chevy, like late '90s, and it was a manual. But that configuration sticks out to me. That single cab. Like I remember Dad bringing me to school with the single cab truck, and there's not a ton of room. You can fold the seats like I had a little and stuff a couple sweatshirts or something behind there, but it's not like having a 4-door vehicle and the ground clearance, the power to weight ratio. Yeah, just an awesome configuration. I like that.
Yeah, regular cab short bed trucks are really a thing of the past, unfortunately.
Right?
It's not an efficient way to produce, so they come up with more efficient ways to. A lot of manufacturers sell a truck with no back seat, so they don't have to have a mold just for 2% of the sales.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a thing of the past. What we're really missing in this new generation Tundra, I asked Dan again, Dan the man, the master tech, and he and I both agreed we would have liked to have had a 5.7 brought over within this generation. And don't get me wrong, both the new powertrains are beautiful.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just like, I think filet mignon and I think tuna steak. And I think I like a filet mignon, but I like a tuna steak. But don't eat the tuna steak thinking you're going to bite into a filet mignon because you're not going to be happy.
It's a great
and
analogy.
Vice versa. It's a great truck. It's a beautiful truck. Filet mignon, tuna steak. Filet mignon, tuna steak.
Both very classy.
Both good, but don't get confused.
Right?
But hey, the new generation of truck is great. Akio Toyota has just done so much with the brand, and they have so much new product coming out. It's an unbelievable model lineup. There's a lot of passion. The cars are very sporty. So, hey, really looking forward to get a new Tacoma coming out.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. The hybrid, that's going to sell so fast.
It's gonna be just a beautiful piece of machinery. What do you like about the truck, Donny?
So far, just seeing it, pictures of it, and I saw it briefly around the dealership that one day that they before they put it up for the summer, for the winter. I like that it's simple. A lot of trucks nowadays in this generation they're becoming the like soccer mom rigs. They're leather. They're huge cabin space. They're heated seats. They're cooled seats. They're this. There's all these bells and whistles. And growing up like in northern Vermont, like those bells and whistles are nice, but simplicity goes a long way. And
believe it or not, for a regular cab, it was an engineered regular cab. So there's a ton of space.
Right on.
in it. It's very comfortable.
Nice.
But no, hey, I guess, being a two-door truck, it's not as practical. Yeah. And, hey, who knows? Maybe somebody will get into manufacturing, that sort of thing again someday.
Do you think, we already talked about that. I was going to see if you were going to do any off-roading or light on-street duty with it, or just, you think maybe just keep it
I think we'll mess around with it. We might bring it to some car shows.
Sports car
we go see our buddy Lee Bodette over at Sport Car USA from time to time. I don't know if it really fits into their thing over there, but it's still cool.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I may have invited my previous podcast interview. He had, and his buddies, they have this off-road trail, so there might be a bunch of off-road trucks showing up at a Sports Car USA event this summer, allegedly.
Yeah, okay. Hey, come one, come all. Up there, they everyone gets free hot dogs and Handy's t-shirts.
Right. So you took one question out of, the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask you what's one thing you would change in the current truck lineup and SUV lineup from Toyota. You answered that. Maybe keeping a 5.7 V8. I like that. What's your favorite new truck model from Toyota right now, and why?
I think I like the TRD Pro.
Yeah.
I love that new. I don't know. Is it Mojave? What's the orange color?
Solar Octane.
It's Solar Octane. Yeah. I think it's a really good looking rig.
It's loud.
I think the screens in those trucks are nicer than my first few living rooms. They're big, comfy seats, and like I said, filet mignon, tuna steak. It's a heck of a. It's beautiful. It's got way nicer finishes than the previous generation. Mm-hmm. The amenities, the seats are comfortable. I mean, truck's absolutely beautiful. You haven't seen a lot of them around.
No,
it was pretty cool.
Rare,
we went to SEMA this year.
Yep. Oh,
and I think the interior is kind of modest. It's the original configuration. You get a CD player, auxiliary. Mm-hmm. Decent stereo. But it's pretty bland, Old school, clean, fresh, gray interior with a black dash.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got I think 8-way power seat.
There we go. Lumbar.
Yeah, lumbar. Nice truck.
I never really appreciated those littler things in a truck until I've had one in some of the vehicles I've owned. The lumbar thing always annoyed me growing up, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh, a lumbar support, you can adjust a little bit, drive half an hour, 45 minutes, adjust it a little more. I like that. Heated seats.
Yeah. The amenities, the things today that, we take for granted that were such a big deal years ago, Mm-hmm.
So this will obviously not be the first Tundra you've ever owned, right?
I've driven a lot of different Tundras over the years. Really pretty fond of that powertrain, that 5.7.
Yeah.
Usually drove a crew cab truck, off-road or limited model. Pretty good ride.
Yep.
But no, I was never that. I was always more into selling trucks than I was collecting them. This is just a unique build, something that's kind of close to home, that little sentimental, means something.
Right on.
Represents a period of time, and I think in Toyota's history of getting into that market.
I like that. Very cool. Yeah, I've driven manuals for the last few vehicles, and I've had 2 manual Tacomas now. The current one's a 6-speed. The last one's a 5-speed 4-cylinder. This one's a V6 6-speed, and I definitely appreciate that. I talked a little bit about this before with another guest on here, and they said that the driving experience is different with a manual. You can feel the engine speeds differently. I don't know. I like what you're saying, that it's like a period of history in Toyota, because they no longer make the 5.7. Like it's out of the lineup, and they probably won't bring it back. Many of these manufacturers are dropping these big gas guzzlers, and it's kind of unfortunate because a lot of us old school guys that like that V8 rumble, that feel, it's off. It's hard to duplicate it in this generation. The tuna steak is a beautiful, beautiful piece of art and a great truck, but it doesn't have the same feel and taste of a steak in the 5.7. I love that analogy. That makes me chuckle.
Yeah, no, hey, they're just different, and they're allowed to be different. It's okay, sure. They're different, but they're different.
Yeah.
And but hey, there's a lot of new technology and stuff coming. I mean, we get a hybrid Tacoma coming next year. Mm-hmm. Efficient. We're gonna have a lot of torque. Who knows? What that's going to be like. A lot of people are looking forward to that, and who knows? Maybe we're going to have some sort of plug-in Tundra at some point.
Could you imagine? Oh,
I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm sure there's going to be an electric version of Tundra or a electrified version, but I guess right now the current Tundra would be electrified.
Yeah,
because it's a hybrid.
It's in that umbrella.
It's a hybrid, but
hybrid, yeah.
No, there's a lot of momentum with the Tundra right now. It's a good looking rig. We haven't really had an opportunity as dealers really to get a lot of them. Because supply constraints have been so tough for all industries. But very confident that it'll be a very dependable truck that'll be cultic. There'll be a following. And I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of enthusiasm that have been driving really the same powertrain since 2007.
Yep.
So you had, almost 2 decades of time with the same truck. You had some people that had the same truck 4 times.
Yeah, there's certain sentimental value there to a lot of folks. I think the old style truck kind of feel is changing. In my previous industry that I worked in, the motors that this Harley Davidson made, they stuck around for a decade and a half, and you get the same kind of thing in that industry too. In my humble opinion, that you get these folks that are just tied to because it was the same for so long. They're almost afraid to change, but at the same time, once they sink their teeth into that new thing, it's like, wow, you don't know what you're missing to experience it, if that makes sense.